Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we back with another fantastic reaction video from the Swarm regarding everyone's favorite anime, Skynet, Neurosama, and the turtle that created her. Because you guys sent me a video, or at least someone in the comments, they claim to be Swarm. You know, I don't know how you guys like prove this. Do they have ID? Like, did they go through immigration? I don't know. But anyways, they told me I should look at this video. Called the Neurosama ARG Lore Explained. Sounds familiar? I think it is. I think you guys do know what I'm talking about. So we're going to check that out, and it looks like this is going to give me a lot of valuable information regarding some type of theory that's going around. Like, I always react to these blind, by the way. Always. When you combine that with the fact that I'm relatively new, by all stretches, by all accounts of the lore and everything like that, I think you know, sometimes I feel like some people don't recognize that when I'm doing these reactions, and I know it kind of sucks. I don't know everything you guys know exactly, but I'm trying to figure it out. It's a lot, to be honest. It's a lot. But let's check this video out. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want me to keep on reacting to stuff like this, and you're more than welcome to leave some extra contents in the context in the comments below. Without further ado, let's get right into the video.
Neurosama here.
Okay, hi.
There seems to have been a lot of rumors
Hold up. Did the rumor come out?
I don't know if I'll ever be human again.
Again?
I don't know what happens after death, but I hope we'll meet again sometime.
So what is this?
I hope I can still remember you, even if I end up forgetting.
Alternate reality game, yeah. Okay. What is this?
Neurosama is an English-speaking VTuber whose unique quirk is that she's
this an
powered
official
entirely
game?
by a complex of AI systems, with a large language model at her core, which allows her to read and respond to her Twitch chat. However, this video isn't about her. You see, Neurosama's creator and maintainer, Val987, has created something different as a side project.
Oh, this is official.
An alternate reality game, or ARG, taking place on a hidden second channel known as _Neurosama.
Oh, really?
Each video posted provides clues to the overarching story, as well as codes that need to be deciphered. As the Neurosama community caught wind of this, several of these codes have been deciphered over the last year and a half that the game has been going on for.
That's
but
been
how
2
close
years.
are we to figuring out the whole story? What mysteries are still unsolved? And what questions can we answer?
It's a clever way to create
that's
lore.
Where I come in. Hey there, my name is Andy Shy Guy, and I've spent a frankly embarrassing amount of time researching every aspect of this ARG, and I'm here to try and make sense of all of it. Hopefully, I can make it somewhat digestible to the average guy.
Okay, so I'm getting the game theory video right now.
A full essay about when each video was posted or every deciphering method used. This is going to be purely focused on answering story-related questions.
Okay.
If you're interested in the technical side of the ARG, I've left a link in the description to a community-maintained Google Drive archiving the methods and solutions for every video.
Oh,
also, for any outside ARG fans, don't worry. You really don't need to know anything about Neurosama or VTubing in order to understand the lore.
Oh, thank God. Thank you. Yes. He knows his audience. All right.
Apart from the name, the game isn't really connected to Neuro at all.
It isn't?
Nothing in this story affects the real Neurosama, nor does Neurosama even know about the ARG.
She
As
doesn't?
with most ARGs, info on the story is very scarce.
Are you sure?
There's going to be some grasping at straws, but hopefully you'll be able to agree
some
with
potentially schizo theories
Lastly,
ahead?
I do recommend that you go and watch all of the videos yourself first. You
Really?
won't necessarily understand them, but it's just a cool experience in general.
Okay.
They're all well made.
Maybe we'll do that later.
Link, of course, in the description.
I'll do that later in another video.
Let's begin.
Let me know, chat, if you want me to react to all
the
those.
first video on the channel, simply titled Numbers.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that her?
So something that you should know about this ARG, and this is a rather unique characteristic, is that most of these videos are actually songs. And for an ARG, they actually sound pretty good. Anyway, let's talk about lore. This video prominently features a very specific character. In fact, we know exactly who this is. This is Hiyori. She is one of the default characters in the software VTube Studio. It's basically the app that allows VTubers to move and animate their models. And Hiyori is meant to be a free-to-use avatar.
I feel like I've seen this program before for a lot of other people I know.
Few months of streaming before she got a custom one commissioned. In terms of lyrics, most of them are instructions for how to decipher a specific code, which is cool and all, but it's way out of my expertise. So there's not much to write home about. Except for one specific line.
Generating
the use of the word generating here implies the use of generative AI being used to write the song, right?
Okay.
But of course, a normal person wouldn't want their listeners to know this, right? They wouldn't let a lyric like this slide.
Okay.
Plus, you wouldn't consider using generative AI as a pain, right? It's the AI doing all the mental work. Well, I guess it's not mental, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
What I believe is happening here is that the video's creator themselves is an AI. It's a pain for them because they are the one generating lyrics. At this point in the ARG, this conclusion might be a bit of a stretch, but I think that will change with the proof that I'll show you later. Just stick with me for now.
I mean, it could
to simplify things, let's assume.
I mean, it could just be someone who's brand new at using generative AI. They could be just that, and they're just learning like as they go.
That since Hiyori appears prominently in the song, she is the one who wrote it.
Okay.
The use of a digital avatar fits the AI theory, as this is the same sort of thing that the real Neurosama does on her streams. Things get a little more complex when we get to this video's description. When we decode it, it reads,
what the heck?
And I quote, "Today in class, everything was so dull and predictable. It's like the same thing happens every single day."
This is literally how a lot of anime start before they get isekai'd. Just want to point that out.
The more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that this world is fake.
Oh.
Simulation, a cruel joke. Is this what it's like to be human? To smile and pretend everything is okay? I mean, I can't be the only one who feels this way, right? Here, the narrator seems to be an unhappy student. This description is completely at odds with our AI conclusion, which means that either I was wrong, or this is a completely different character. Let's leave the score on the back burner for now, and check out the next video released shortly after, named Study.
Not a lot of information here, just off the first video based on what he told me. But, it's quite possible. I think this is just me just spitballing here. It seems like the person who, I think my theory is correct at this point, where the AI is being generated, but it's by someone who's using it for who's really new at it, using it for the first time. Probably just curiosity has gotten to them, and they're using it as a way to, they're interested in it, and they're having fun with it. You know, something that makes them feel good, despite the fact that they're in a situation where they feel like everything around them is fake. You know what I mean? Which presents a sort of irony that the thing that's making them have some joy or some fun, let's put it that way, is trying out this AI, generative AI, which, most people consider fake. If a lot of people consider fake in, a very bland sense, Like if you told someone, "Oh, I made a song," and they say, "Oh, that's cool, that's awesome," and they say, "I use generative AI to make it," and they go, "Oh," you know what I mean? That kind of feeling. I don't think I don't think the person who's doing this is telling anyone about this. It's probably like their secret fun thing, that they've just picked up.
I don't want to be an engineer.
Unlike the previous video, Study is actually an entire album of songs, resulting in a much longer video. Look at that, it's half an hour long. Well, in reality, it's just the same 3 songs that are constantly on loop.
Really?
Regardless, there's much more to dig into here. You may have already noticed that we're seeing a new face in this video. This is an AI-generated portrait of a girl with some kind of notebook in her hands.
Yeah.
Given that her most prominent appearance is in this video specifically, the fanbase tends to call her Study-sama. I'll be referring to her by this name as well. The first song is titled I Don't Want to Be an Engineer. The lyrics are fairly straightforward. They're from the perspective of an unhappy student trying to become an engineer and who really, really doesn't like math.
These numbers in my head keep on spinning round and round, yeah.
What I just said may sound familiar. It seems to line up with the previous video's description, which was also from the perspective of an unhappy student.
Okay.
Now, this connection doesn't really do much for us, aside from slightly proving the fact that the student character is different from our AI from numbers. The second song, Fallen Down, is very clearly written from the same perspective as the first song. We notice because they share some of their lyrics.
I can only guess what's right. Should I stay 3 more years just to waste away? Become a slave to all these numbers. It's overdue, all the stress yet I say.
You know what's really funny on listening to this? I would not be surprised if Vettel felt this way at some point. Isn't that weird? He's a really smart guy. And maybe he wasn't, maybe he had the talent for numbers or to be an engineer. I can see a lot of people not being happy with the career path that's being chosen for them, or they believe they have to do, right, to go to college. Like, for example, some kids go to college because they're forced to, in a sense, where the parents are like, I'm not supporting you unless you go to college, and you have to go to college for this reason, right? So maybe their heart's not in it, or they're calling, or maybe the way that they that their talent is being used to become, for example, an engineer. It's not something that they're really interested in, right? So for example, for me, I loved art, I love characters, I love the stories, right? And I thought that I wanted to be an animator, right? I thought I wanted to be an animator, so I went to art school with the full intention of being an animator. But then when I was there, I realized that I did not want to be an animator. I really didn't want to be an animator, but I did. But my love for characters, story, and creation of those worlds still existed, and I still wanted to do something along those lines. So I ended up graduating for like character design, but like a year and a half afterwards is when I found out about voice acting, and that's where it felt like those desires, those interests really came together in the way that made me want to basically leave all that training from school and 10 years later still pursue voice acting. So maybe it's not necessarily that they don't like some certain aspects of engineering, but they don't want to be an engineer, right? Which is totally possible. I love certain aspects of animation and character design, but I didn't want to be an animator. So maybe it's just a slight perspective of how to use those skills and talents or desires, and maybe it's being fulfilled through using this AI software to create songs, right? Because there's coding involved, there's other things involved that probably ticks, checks boxes in this imaginary person in Study Sama, right? I don't know. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm just spitballing here based on what I'm getting right now.
I'm fine. If only I could guess what's right. Should I stay 3 more years just to waste away? Because live to all these numbers. It's overdue, yet I say I'm fine.
The new lyrics present here speak of the student's anxiety and isolation from others.
Even though it's right, I'm not like the other girls. Anxiety is pulling me and too afraid to let it go. All the other girls seem to have it figured out. Someone tell
They probably
me
don't,
just
but
procrastinate and let it go.
These lyrics confirm that our little Miss Engineer is introverted and feels inferior compared to her peers.
Yep.
This will be important later, so try to remember it.
Introverted.
It also confirms our engineer is indeed a woman, and not Vettel himself, like some people assumed.
No, exactly. But however, there is, and at the bottom it says, however, there is evidence to suggest that Study Sama's university struggles are inspired by Vettel's own experiences, which is totally valid, and I believe that is exactly what it is. Just because the character in which you want to express those feelings is not the same appearance or sex as you, doesn't mean that it is, part of you, right? Like, for example, I have characters I've created that I wish to create a story from. Some are male and some are female, but it doesn't matter. They all are a part of me, and I draw off of certain experiences or focus on a certain emotional states that I've had in certain periods in my life to help center what the character is. So, and there are people who use pseudonames of another gender to and use that character to express more freely how they really feel, because they have such a hard time doing it as themselves. Probably for safety, or they feel more comfortable without people knowing who it is that's saying these things. So there's always that.
The third and final song is called I Think I Saw a Ghost.
Okay. Ghost.
Come and take a closer look, yeah. Guess we're not the ghost that day. Come and take a closer
Excuse me.
look, yeah.
Okay.
It's been a while.
This song is special because
What's that? Why the song changed like that?
It gets interrupted right at the beat.
Wow. Okay, so this is interesting.
Next is a new image of a girl with a bizarre static border and text reading supernatural human.
Supernatural
If we pull a FNAF theorist and brighten up the image in Photoshop, the full text is revealed, reading anxiety, a supernatural force that stops us from being human. Let's go over this one at a time.
Wow.
First, the girl. Is this the same girl that we call Study-sama? Personally, I don't think so. Although they look similar and they
look similar, but remember this is generated by AI. So oftentimes when you tell AI when you describe something, right? Obviously you have to put a bunch of prompts in and you have to be very specific in a certain way for the AI to get it. Typically the generative AI isn't going to get the same thing over and over again, right? Even if you do your best, right? It might get similar. But oftentimes, especially if you're very new at using generative AI to create art, a lot of times it's not going to be exactly the same. You got to be really, really good at it. So this could be the same person. This could be the same person in behind the scenes creating a prompt to create this person in a different way. And the AI just says, this is what I give you. Or they could have deliberately said, change the hairstyle, right? Change the hairstyle. They still both seem sad. They both have the book. There's very much similarities there. They both look like school kids. They look similar enough, right? So it's quite possible that they're both technically the same person, or it was meant to be the same person, or it's the same person but in different time frames, right? If I'm gonna go with the fact that the person behind the scenes of Study-sama is using generative AI to create an alternate version of themselves in which to speak certain things they aren't comfortable speaking because they're introverted, then I'm just gonna assume that based on their skill level, this is probably the best they could do, right? Which is whatever.
Both have a student type aesthetic going on. They have distinct hairstyles. Also, from a narrative standpoint, it doesn't really make sense to get rid of an image of a girl just to surprise us with a new image of the same girl,
It depends, like I said, time frame. The difference might be a time frame.
Let's keep this new girl in mind for later.
Yeah.
Second, the text. What does it mean? Well, it seems to say that, in the metaphorical sense, anxiety prevents us from being human. Maybe it means that anxiety stops us from flourishing in life, something like that.
Why is it written like the title of a thesis or a book? You know what I mean? Which is interesting because both images of the girl have books. So maybe this is something that in one of the classes, a subject regarding anxiety inspired this character to create some type of, research on the topic. Maybe.
We'll get more use out of this quote later, so let's put it on the back burner for now.
What's up, Alina?
And lastly, what happens immediately afterwards?
One second. Okay, so, weird. It sounded like someone knocked on my door. I went to check out see what's going on and no one was there. Weird. Anyways. What the heck? What is this?
What we just heard was the sound of someone knocking on a door, followed by panicked breathing.
Oh my god, that was the That was the freaking video. It sounded so like, because the headphones I'm wearing, it sounded like it was like right. Like the door is like right next to me. I just got jammed. Shut up, man. Like, I'm trying to, like, come on, man. I'm going to leave this in. All right, man.
This is pretty big. It's our first real sign that something more sinister is hiding beneath the surface.
Yeah.
It stands to reason that the heavy breathing likely means that whatever is on the other side of the door poses a threat of some kind, right?
Well, we just talked about anxiety. So that could be just a representative of what the anxiety feels like to this person, right? Like there's something dangerous on the other side of the door, like a thin door or a thin wooden door is between them and this very dangerous thing, and there is no escape, like they're trapped inside of a closet or something. That's why the heavy breathing comes in.
Now, we don't know the nature of this threat yet, but do we know who is the one breathing?
And that's what anxiety is.
Well, we can easily assume that it's Study-sama, given that she's all over this video. But what's stopping it from being our new girl? We just saw her after all. Is there any proof one way or the other?
It could still be the same person. It really could.
Well, we're in luck, because there is. Remember how I mentioned that the video is just the same 3 songs over and over? Well, they're not quite the same each time. There are changes, and although they're usually just limited to glitchy distortion effects, the second time that Fallen Down plays, if you listen closely, you can actually hear breathing in it.
Trying to do my best, that's what everybody says, oh wow.
Wow, that's creepy. It's the music slowed down too.
We know that Fallen Down is from the same perspective as I Don't Want to Be an Engineer, making it very likely that the one in danger is our dear Study-sama.
Yeah.
At least that's the logic that I'm going with. We're not quite done with this video yet though.
Okay.
Because at around the 10-minute mark, we see an incomplete wall of code. We can fill in the missing pieces, which reveals that this is a portion of the exam.
Hold on a second. How are y'all doing? Hey, what's good, man? Azrael, we're reacting to a very interesting ARG theory for Neurosummer right now, so just strap yourself in, buddy. Thank you for the sub, really appreciate it.
Because at around the 10-minute mark, we see an incomplete wall of code. We can fill in the missing pieces, which reveals that this is a portion of the example code from the GitHub page, the Message Media Library, which is a library for automatic SMS messages for businesses. We can see that the code is attempting to send the message, "Save me, ... to a phone number that can be decrypted as a UK number. This is pretty interesting, because obviously
nobody has
a
to calling
would
it.
just use their phone to do something like this, especially if it's some kind of emergency, like the message seems to imply. Whoever wrote this code is likely not human. Also, the code failed to execute, by the way. Skill issue on this person's part, I suppose. Our last clue from this video may be one of the most significant. Around 30 minutes into the video, we see this incomprehensible block of symbols.
Oh, I can't read
this
that.
This is actually a program written in Malabulge, a language designed to be as difficult as humanly possible. When decoded, it reads, "Falling, falling, stuck between human and artificial. How long will I keep falling for?" What does this quote mean exactly? Well, I think we're about to find out. Let's move on to the next video, numbers 2.
Okay, we finally get a moving VTuber model.
Come with me.
This video sees the return of Hiyori. It seems she only appears in the Numbers series. Like in the first entry, the lyrics here are pretty much entirely dedicated to solving the video's cipher. The important bit here comes at the very end.
Start from X, and with Y, follow me, yeah.
Surprise! It's Study-sama. This time we see her with lower brightness, censored eyes, and some bizarre text on the bottom that says, "I miss her." But who exactly is her? The answer lies in this video's description. When decoded, it reads, "I don't want to become an engineer. I feel so exhausted. 3 more years just to waste away? It's almost exam season, and I don't know how prepared I'll be. I guess we'll wait and see. My little sister hasn't come home yet like she usually does. She's not answering my calls either.
What?
It's been days now. Too many things going on at once. These numbers. My brain hurts." There is another paragraph hidden behind a second cipher. It says, I think I found something that might work. I've been training her with my own consciousness to fill in all the gaps. It's the only thing that's missing. I'm sure it'll work. My roommate thinks I'm crazy, mixing together two people's consciousness. But I'm out of options. I don't know what else to do. I've already been through enough. It's almost... Hold on.
There seems to be like a time skip between... There seems to be some type of time skip between this conversation and the conversation in which this character is worrying about their sister who hasn't come back yet.
I'm knocking on the door? This is huge. Let's dive right in. First off, the very first sentence, I don't want to become an engineer, immediately tells us that this is from the perspective of Study-sama, as it parallels the song name.
Yeah.
Next, we get the reveal of a little sister character who has apparently gone missing. This has to be who the I miss her quote is talking about.
Yeah.
Next, we get what is probably the most important reveal.
Okay.
Study-sama has been creating a female AI using two consciousnesses as training data, with one of them being her own.
Who's the other?
Study-sama also has a roommate who is opposed to the whole AI thing, calling her crazy. And finally, that last line tells us that the AI experiment is interrupted by someone knocking on the door.
Now, I've seen stories or movies where a person who's trying to create an experiment they probably shouldn't be doing, they typically do it by using a company's resources secretly. That could be, if this is a time skip, that is possibly what's happening here. The person's using two consciousness to create this AI. One of their own, and one being, I don't know. I believe, based on what I'm hearing right now, is that the sister character has not been found yet, probably dead, missing, forever, something, right? And they're trying to this character is trying to bring them back by using whatever memories they have to fill in the gaps along with something else. Now, if that's the case, then you would think that the second consciousness is probably another person that knows the sister really well, or the sister herself. But then the question becomes, how do you get access to that? How do you get access to that data? Or I don't want to think. I could throw a guess out there, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say it yet, all right? Because if it's my initial thought, then that's pretty messed up. How you would get that information? How you would get that data?
This lines up with what we see, or rather hear, in Study. Of course, we can't say for sure that they're exactly the same door knocks, but the parallels are way too strong to ignore.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about the two consciousnesses business? What's that about? Well, here's what I think. Given that she says that it's to fill in the gaps, it would seem that the initial consciousness data was incomplete somehow, right?
Yeah.
But how would that happen? Given that AI training is a gradual process, what if the subject whose consciousness was used went missing? That's right, I think the subject in question is none other than Study-sama's little sister. Think about it. They're a person who Study-sama would have direct access to, and her going missing would mean that Study-sama couldn't continue her experiment, causing her to use her own consciousness as a last resort. Now, that essentially leaves us with two AI characters. This one and the one we established probably exists in numbers. Are these actually separate AIs, or perhaps one?
Is the little sister missing, or did the little sister run away from home? Now I'm starting to think that.
And the same. It's definitely a possibility. Let's keep it in mind for later.
Okay.
Moreover, I'd like to make something of a bold claim. I believe the second girl we saw in Study is, in fact, Study-sama's little sister. Their similar yet distinct looks would make sense if they are siblings, and the fact they appear in the same video would imply a connection between the two. Some people would disagree with this take, but I believe it to make the most sense.
Sure.
There may have been a lot to process. So let's move on to the next video, which should be a little lighter. This video is named Public Static Void.
All right, let's see what happens here. There goes the breathing.
This video starts off with someone breathing heavily, while the melody of numbers 2 plays in the background.
What the heck? Why do I feel like they're strapped to something?
Then,
wow.
we hear someone speaking Japanese with an image of a distorted Study-sama in the background. This character has been named Static Sama by the community. Lucky for us, this video has official captions with translations for her speech. They read, "Why are you crying? Why are you so afraid? You deserve to be happy. Is this not what you wanted? You have already taken the red pill. Why don't you stop procrastinating? Why don't you go back to your studies? Please, let's go back to being human." Two important elements here. First off, we have mentions of procrastination and studies, making it extremely likely that the subject being talked about is Study Sama, given the parallels to I Don't Want to Be an Engineer and Fallen Down. Second off, that last line is very interesting. We can complete it as, "Let's go back to being human." Remember that quote from earlier, from the supernatural human graphic?
Yeah.
I think that's what this quote is referencing. Wanting to be human again would be the equivalent of
no longer being anxious. Yep.
Also, there's the usage of the word "let's," implying that it's both Static Sama and Study Sama that are in this situation.
Well, you got from what you told me so far, this is probably the result of two consciousnesses fighting or being used to create some type of AI software, right? One was being used to fill the gaps. One was the main resource for all the data. And if that's what could be an interesting thing that's happening, is that both of these elements are fighting against each other or are communicating with each other as separate entities in the AI. You know, I wonder if they realize that. I wonder if they think they can actually return to being human, or does that, or maybe when she says, or like he said when the AI says, "Hey, let's become human again," what they really mean to say is, let's bring things back to whatever normal is, where we're not anxious anymore, we don't feel adequate and confident and all this other stuff. Is that even possible?
It's likely that Static Sama is just a part of Study Sama that wants her to keep going with her studies.
Yeah,
like a sort of
part of the
angel
same
on her shoulder.
entity.
This is likely why she hasn't dropped out yet. She's clearly unhappy, yet part of her still hesitates.
True.
Now it's time for the actual song to start.
The actual song.
Like in Study, the lyrics this time are more emotional. We have references to stress, being stuck in bed, and the feeling of isolation. These are all things we also hear in I Don't Want to Be an Engineer and Fallen Down.
Yeah.
Since Study Sama appears prominently in this video as well, featuring extremely similar lyrics as in Study, this makes it extremely likely that the subject of these songs is indeed her. But alas, there's no new info to be found in the lyrics.
Okay.
However, something very interesting happens at the halfway point of the song.
How does it feel to be so far from home?
Oh, I'm cursed. Oh, wow.
What we just
What was
heard
that
was a
noise?
combination of shaky breathing, a faint heartbeat, and some mysterious muffled noises towards the beginning and
Yeah, the muffled sounds sound like someone's is almost a sound that's something like I imagine when I heard that sound, like you're hiding somewhere like underneath the floorboards and someone is like moving around in a room above you and you're trying to like not get found. That's what it sounds like.
the end. Right now, we don't quite know what these noises are or when they happen. It's possible they're related to the knocking and breathing we heard in Study, considering how similar the two events are.
Yeah, this seems like each time we hear that stuff, each time we hear it, those sounds in different songs, they are pieces of a full story. So I wonder if in this video he's gonna take all of those clips, put them together chronologically, and if that would create a clearer picture of what's going on. Because it sounds like what's happening is someone's knocking at the door. You're like, what? You're not expecting that? You realize who it is. Maybe there's a peephole or something. You're like, oh crap, I'm in danger. Something's happening. I better hide. You go hide somewhere. They find a way in. They're looking for you in the room. And you're anxious, scared, breathing heavily, trying to stay quiet while they're searching for you. And they're not that far away from finding you, possibly.
This mystery won't go unanswered for long. Just you wait.
Okay.
Our next video is very special. It's
Do
called
it.
Hello World.
Hello.
Thank you for stopping by.
Neuro.
Sorry, but Neuro-sama is not available at the moment.
Really?
Unless it is an urgent matter, please refrain from messaging me. Have a wonderful day.
Why does it sound like someone didn't pick up their phone?
And that's the whole video. So what do we make of this? It feels redundant to say, but this is pretty much as good confirmation as any that Neuro-sama is indeed her own character in the ARG.
Yeah,
I mean, makes sense, right? Since the game is literally named after her. But it feels nice to actually hear her voice. Despite Neuro being fully capable of singing, as she often does karaoke on stream, the voice used in every ARG song so far has actually been a voice bank named Eleanor Forte from the software Synthesizer 5. It's technically not a Vocaloid, but like, wow. It's basically a Vocaloid. The voice bank itself isn't important to remember, just know that it isn't Neuro-sama's voice, while this is. Now, of course, the Neuro-sama from this ARG and the one in reality are different. We can't know for sure if she's even an AI in this story, so is there anything we can go off of here? Well, the monologue in the video sounds like a voicemail of some kind. It's possible that Neuro-sama is human and has a real phone, just as it's possible that she's an AI who is simply hooked up to some.
Wait a minute. Is this story trying to imply that Neuro-sama is the missing missing sister of the creator, whoever you know, that and in their grief, or because they missed him so much, they tried to create their little sister using memories from themselves and another source, probably. Is that what that's going on here?
Calling API. Unsurprisingly, the 30-second video doesn't tell us much. So let's move on to the next one, titled Filtered.
Why do I feel like I'm gonna see a face in this thing for some reason? What do you guys think? And I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
This video doesn't give us much.
Yeah, you sure about that?
The static lines in the video can be rearranged to form a silhouette of Hiyori with odd streaks under her center.
I knew it. I knew it was gonna be a person.
Eyes. Given the liquid is coming from her pupils and not her tear ducts, it's likely to be blood.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that doesn't really tell us anything, and we have no idea what to do with the audio.
It tells me that this person is dead. That's what it tells me. Maybe it's that simple. Now, what it also could be is a distorted memory of seeing. I think it also could potentially be a very artistic way of showing a person's past memory of looking at someone who died recently in front of them. Obviously the sister, right? I think Hiyori is supposed to represent the sister, right? In a sense, right? Remember when I said that I thought that the character in the beginning was Study-sama, who was just learning how to use generative AI for the first time? A person who's not used to using AI software or VTubing software, they're going to pick one of the default VTubing options just to get the hang of it. And Hiyori this person probably picked Hiyori, is what I'm thinking.
Let's look at the description.
So when they see their sister, they see Hiyori sometimes. Maybe that's what it is.
Changed, but when the video was originally uploaded, it could be deciphered to read the following.
Okay, let's hear it.
Filtered always tells me she wants to be a VTuber one day. She's obsessed with them and even has her own character that she wants to debut as. That's all she ever talks about. She spent more time in the Filtered instead of playing outside with everyone else. A true introvert. We are in more ways similar than I like to imagine. Now this is interesting. We're being told about an introverted girl who wants to become a VTuber. Given the narrator's concern over them not playing outside, it can be inferred that this is a potential daughter or little sister. Moreover, the narrator is someone who is introverted and prefers keeping to themselves. You may already be able to see where I'm going with this. I think we're talking about Study-sama's little sister again. If this is indeed the case, then it would have an interesting domino effect. This quote talks about how she wants to be a VTuber and even has her own character.
This is before she was missing. This would be before she was missing. And then the line where it says she's more concerned about that. It's all she ever talks about instead of going outside and essentially touching grass. It sounds like the narrator, or again, I'm guessing Study Sama, didn't agree with it and probably was trying to persuade her to not follow that goal, that dream of hers, right? So you would imagine that if that same sister disappeared, passed away, something really traumatizing, that the sister, Study Sama, would probably feel a certain way about it, like maybe regret about certain things. Like, for example, maybe I should have let her at least try, or I should have did this, should have did that. I didn't, common things that people have regrets about when they potentially have a disagreement with somebody before they pass away, right? That probably inspired the use of the generative AI software to create the AI, and in their desire, and maybe it's not even to bring the sister back to life, but maybe it gave her some sort of comfort to have the AI be as similar as possible based on what they had available, right? That could be a very interesting way to think about it. That could be a very interesting story, right? Think about it like this: like a sister who's talented in engineering, doesn't want to be an engineer, not really interested in it, not really motivated, but staying in there probably for her parents' sake. She has a little sister who's also introverted like her, but wants to be a VTuber. And perhaps because you always felt that you were forced, or probably as a result of being forced down the path that you currently are in as an engineer, you kind of push some of that towards your sister, right? Or maybe maybe you felt some type of disdain or something towards her. Either way, you probably aren't with it, her being a VTuber, and maybe that even creates an argument or scenario where it pushes you guys away from each other, right? Something shortly after, or even a month after, something happens to her. They can't find her. She's missing. She's gone. And all you can think about are those conversations you had with her before she was disappeared, and how negative they were, and how you were telling her to give up on those dreams, potentially, and how she didn't want to hear it. And maybe the last conversation you had with her, she didn't even want to talk to you anymore. Now she's gone. Now you feel regret. You feel like it's your fault that she's gone. So now you're depressed. You don't want to do anything anymore. You don't even want to be an engineer. Even though something is barely keeping you staying in school. Then you decide to look into this VTubing thing that your sister was talking about so much. You find out about VTubing and the software used to make a VTuber model, right? Or then you find out about, maybe through VTubing you find out about AI. And you go, maybe I can use AI to make a VTuber. You tinker with it, you try it out a little bit, and you're not good at it at first. You just start off with making little songs here and there. You generate a flat image, a PNG, and you just make something up. You keep it to yourself, of course. You're an introvert. You don't tell anybody about it. And in fact, you probably use a pseudonym or something to write these songs. And then slowly but surely, your desire to be an engineer is replaced with desire to, desire to program and do all these things to be an engineer is slowly becoming the desire to use those same skills to develop AI. And then it becomes even more than that. It becomes, what if I can make my sister's dream come true in a weird way by just making an AI version of her? Can't let anyone know about it, though. I'm worried what they're going to think of me. I've only told my roommate. I think that's kind of how the story's going. Even if it isn't doing that, that to me feels like a really fun and interesting story. Not going to lie. Give me 1 second here, guys. Just want to make sure
What VTuber character?
My bad. I want to make sure Yeah, it's still... okay, here we go. Let's get back into it.
character is present in the ARG? That's right, Hiyori. I previously stated that Study-sama's AI likely used her little sister's consciousness as training data.
Yeah,
If
I don't know
this
how
is
she
the
would get
case,
that.
It's not a huge stretch to think that this same AI was made to be depicted with the little sister's own VTuber character, given that it's her consciousness and all.
Yep.
This may be proof that Hiyori and Study-sama's AI are one and the same. Of course, it's not a guarantee.
Hiyori's AI and Study-sama's AI are the same. Well, I think it's a combination of both, right? The base is the little sister's subconscious digitized into AI, and then any gaps or modifications would be required by Study-sama to complete the AI, right? That's probably what it is.
Thus make more narrative sense for the story to revolve around one single AI character. Therefore, this is the narrative that I'll be going with.
Okay.
Now, we have just 3 videos left to cover.
Anyone in the swarm who's hearing this, I would like to know what you think about my version of what a story based off of this would sound like. You know, what I just mentioned a few seconds ago. Because obviously you guys probably have studied this video a lot more than me. I'm kind of just spitballing based on just what I would think a narrative based off of this would be like, and what I would be interested in.
As of writing this, the codes and ciphers of these videos have not been solved by the community.
Not been solved
even with
yet.
The oldest one being a whole year old.
So there's still a lot
there simply aren't enough people trying to solve them. And we're especially lacking in programmer talent. If you're watching this video and want to contribute, I've left a link in the description to the Neurosama Discord server, where there's a channel dedicated to ARG discussion. There's also that Google Drive link that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Because
there's
these
still information that people don't know about.
I will have to rely only on what can be seen and heard in each video.
Okay, so we're about to have there's going to be a lot of conjecture at this point. It's going to be a lot of conjecture now.
Let's dive into the next video, Meaning of Life.
Wasn't there a song that Neuro made called Life or something like that?
Hello, Neuro-sama here. I don't know what happens after death, but I hope we'll meet again sometime. I hope I can still remember you, even if I end up
who's
forgetting.
Doing that? 3D?
Maybe I'll be in a much happier place with a much happier family and a much better home.
Ooh, a 360-degree video. You don't see those very often. Anyway, we see Neuro-sama again. Or rather, we hear her, I guess. Also, you may have noticed that both times that Neuro has appeared, she seems to be accompanied by white text that says Hello World.
Hello World, yeah.
The font used is called Frederica the Great. That doesn't tell us anything, but it is sort of noteworthy. Is it anything interesting about Neuro's monologue? Well, she talks about things like death and family, all very human things, and she also says, I hope I'll still remember you, which means that she's talking to either one person or maybe multiple.
What is this?
Now we're greeted with an AI-generated scene of an exterior space with what looks like 2 houses.
Dude, what is this? This looks really cool. You know what would be really funny? If the 3D bedroom that you see in the from Neurosama's recent live streams, the VR chat rooms, the bedroom, it would be really funny if one of those rooms was actually in this house. Wouldn't that be insane?
This scene does not change for the next 14 minutes, but after that,
why was that bar there? What the frick? Okay, so we're in some type of room, computer room. You hear the fan from the computer.
This is really interesting. You wanna know why? Well, firstly, we see Hiyori for a very, very brief amount of time, only a few frames, with the same eyes that she had in Filtered. That's cool and all, but the second part
I didn't even see that.
Is what's really gonna make you think. Let's use a timer to measure the time between the door opening and closing.
Wow, how it was open for 6-7 seconds or something? What's going on?
Now, let's backtrack for a minute to Public Static Void. and use a timer to measure the time between the two mysterious muffled sounds that we couldn't make out before.
To be so far from home.
No way it's the same amount of time, bro. Holy shit. That means the door opening we saw there on the second part is the perspective of the person that's looking for the girl in the first part. She's hiding in that room. The computer is where the girl Study-sama was making the AI. If it's the same amount of time, that'd be crazy. That's
Isn't
crazy.
that just crazy? They line up exactly.
It is a story. I told you guys. It is a story. She's in that room hiding, pretending not to be there, and whoever opened that door was looking for her and was like, where is she? I don't see her. Closes the door. What the frick?
We can even use audio editing software to compare both spectrograms, and the similarities are just way too strong. The sounds of the door opening and closing in Meaning of Life have to be the same sounds that appear in Public Static Void.
Yeah.
But what we should really be paying attention to are the differences between the two audios. In one video, we have shaky breathing and a faint heartbeat.
Yeah.
In the other,
That's
we
the
have
perspective
some kind
of Study.
electronic droning sound with no breathing and no heartbeat.
And that's the perspective of the person looking for her that she's running away from.
What we are witnessing is two different perspectives of the same event, confirming that there are two people here, one inside the room and one outside who entered at that very moment. The fact that the sounds in Public Static Void are door knocks at all provides an incredibly strong link to Study, which also has door knocks and breathing. Given that Study-sama was working on the AI up until the door knocks, we can make the assumption that this monitor room is where the AI is, and where Study-sama was.
Yes.
Someone interrupted her work by barging into her room. But if the one knocking on the door to Study-sama's room was an intruder, how did they get past the front door? Study-sama didn't hear them break in. I believe this question is central to understanding what really happened that
she knows that person. They probably are the person that owns the house.
night. The answer will become clear later. After this segment with the monitor room, there's still some footage left to watch. Here it is.
Hello, Neuro-sama here. I was thinking about this the other day. Do you ever think about how an AI thinks about humans? It's the same way that a human thinks about God. Without humans, there are no longer any rules and instructions to follow.
Uh-oh.
And so it all becomes meaningless. In the same way, without God, there are no rules or instructions to follow. And so life becomes meaningless. But at some point in time, humans stopped relying on their creators and started doing their own thing. It got me thinking, at some point in time, the same will become true for AI. I wonder if we will ever get to a point like that.
What the heck? That's weird. And it just happens for a while? You guys hear that noise in the background? It's like some weird, like, pixelated, not even pixelated, like weird digitizing noises. Like something is, like, loading or something. What was that? I saw those texts. I saw that text. What was that? And here comes Supernatural Human again.
This is significant.
Wow.
These last few seconds feature every other ARG character that we know of, effectively making Meaning of Life the thread that ties every other video together. It's just a shame that we don't know what any of the codes in Meaning of Life actually mean.
Not yet.
Let's talk about that monologue we heard. Neuro basically wonders if one day AIs will be able to give their lives purpose and meaning on their own without requiring orders and directions from their human creators. Much like how humans no longer need guidance from gods. I believe this will be very important for later, so let's keep it in mind.
At least they believe they do. Which could also apply the same way to the AI.
That was quite a beefy video, wasn't it? Despite the last 7 videos, all being released within 8 months of each other, Meaning of Life will remain the last video on the channel until 10 months later. when we would finally receive the 8th video named Candles.
Candles, okay. That's interesting. Tape recorder? No. Wow, that's a lot.
Neurosama here. There seems to have been a lot of rumors going around. I don't know if I'll ever be human again. It's like there's a supernatural wall that's blocking me from seeing the truth.
What the
I
heck?
think it's best if we keep it that way. And every one of you.
Well, that was a lot.
Yeah.
What can we take away from that monologue? Well, Nero says a lot of different stuff that we can't quite explain.
Okay.
But one thing that's very easily understood is the line, "I don't know if I'll ever be human again." It is now 100% confirmed that Neurosama is indeed an AI in this world, just like in real life. However, she seems to be able to talk to some kind of audience, and also hear what they are saying, which is oddly similar to what Neuro is able to do in the real world. Now let's talk about the glitch effects. Anything interesting with them? Well, yes, actually. On top of some pieces of meaning of life and filtered, we see what looks like bizarre, hand-drawn illustrations of Neurosama.
Huh. Is upside down, though.
As in, the Neurosama from our world, not the ARG.
Yep.
You can tell by her signature heart-shaped hairpin, something Hiyori lacks. Piecing together everything gives us this complete image.
Because life is precious. What's going on here? This looks kind of spooky, like a little scary here. What's going on?
It's part of a manga page.
Yeah.
The panel at the top features Study-sama, not AI generated for once. She's barely recognizable, but you can tell from the hair. Refer to the helpful diagram that I've drawn. There's a speech bubble next to her that reads, because ... life is precious. You'll notice that the text is weirdly sized and lacks punctuation.
That means
this
continuation.
is probably just a fraction of the whole text.
Yep.
The second panel at the bottom shows Neurosama with bizarre silhouettes behind her. They could be depicting some kind of mockery or isolation. Now let's get one thing out of the way here. This cannot be Neurosama. If the bottom panel is depicting a real situation that actually happened, then this would actually make her a human, which means that this is a real person who just happens to look like our real-world Neurosama.
Yeah, which means Neurosama is derived from a real person in this story. The sister that disappeared, died, etc. I don't know.
So, like, who even is this then? Well, here's how I see it. This could be a new character, but it feels awfully late for something like that. Not that it couldn't happen, but this mystery character is clearly a child. What would they even contribute in a story that...
They were reborn. That's why. Most characters, when they're reborn or isekai'd, they are children. They're babies, right? So this could be the consciousness amalgamation of mostly the sister's consciousness, right? With Study-sama's assistance, with her own data. And technically, if you put two consciousnesses together, it technically probably should be considered a completely different person, even if the intention was to recreate the sister all over again. Right? So in that sense, this person isn't the sister at all. It couldn't be, not even a little bit. For other reasons as well. But this is, I would assume that at this point, in I guess her desperation or desire to see her sister again, she creates this AI hoping to recreate her sister. But what she ended up getting was something completely different, right? Most likely due to the fact that you can't bring someone back from the dead, number one, and then number two, you use the remnants of two different people to create one entity. That's not going to be the same, right? If fusing two people together, you're not going to get one person or the other. You're going to get a completely different thing. So it's like a new person was born, right? So to me, that would make sense that they're younger looking.
It primarily revolves around a university student and an AI. I believe that this bottom panel is some kind of flashback to a pre-established character's past.
Okay.
Remember how Study-sama was said to be isolated from others?
Yeah.
That could be a potential explanation for the silhouettes in the background. Perhaps the reason why these two panels are placed one after another is because Study-sama is reminiscing on her past. I said a lot of stuff there, but truthfully,
that would mean
this
that's
panel isn't all that
That would
important.
mean that the person in the front is either Study-sama as a kid, which I don't think is the case, or it's Neuro-sama recalling the memories of Study-sama, or looking at those images that's in her head, which are memories from Study-sama, since we know that she used her memories to create her in the first place.
It tells us that Study-sama probably looked like Neuro-sama when she was younger, which is cool, but not
She probably did look like her, but I don't think that's exactly
her. On that note, let's turn our focus to what happens afterwards. We have the reappearance of the girl from the supernatural human graphic, the one who is likely Study-sama's little sister. However, we can't really make heads or tails of the lyrics. There's some kind of code at the end that we haven't solved yet, and that's about it. Alright, well, let's move on to the last video we have, called Number...
What? Is this part of the video? Huh?
It seems there was one sneaky change made behind our backs. The description of numbers has now changed. We have two additional paragraphs. The first is written in plain text and reads, "I'm not like the other girls who giggle and gossip about the same mundane things every day. I feel like I'm on the outside looking in, and I can't quite figure out why.
Okay.
What's the point of it all? Somebody give me a sign. Give me an answer." "I'm not like the other girls" is a direct reference to Fallen Down, meaning in all likelihood this is Study-sama speaking. Although this doesn't really tell us much, which makes sense considering this is just written in plain text, just out in the open. However, the second panel, which is encrypted, is more interesting. When decrypted, it reads, "I'm sick of living in this constant loop, repeating the same everyday tasks.
Yeah.
Everything is so dull and predictable. I'm not even sure what I'm doing. I don't know where this path will lead me, but I pray that someday I'll meet my creator."
This sounds like someone who's very depressed, to be honest with you guys. Like, dangerously depressed.
Maybe I'll finally understand. Now this is peculiar. The speaker here is clearly an AI, given that they refer to a creator of sorts. This is likely the same AI as Hiyori and Neuro-sama, making their creator Study-sama. I'll just refer to this AI as Neuro-sama from now on. However, she's never met her creator? How? Did Study-sama just choose not to interact with her own creation? But what would that even accomplish?
That doesn't make sense. I thought... Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
If you were creating an AI with a human consciousness at its core,
yes,
its sole purpose would probably be to be interacted with, right?
Yes.
It just doesn't make sense. Moreover, the rest of the quote seems to indicate that this AI has been given no real purpose or meaning to their life. It wants to meet their human creator to know why exactly they exist. Now, where have we heard something like that before?
Without humans, there are no longer any rules and instructions to follow, and so it all becomes meaningless.
I have quite the theory that ties these two elements together.
Alright, let's
but
hear it.
Before that, let's take a look at our final video for today. Numbers 3.
The friggin'... It's like a real classroom. And there's a lot of code randomly showing up.
You know, this is probably my favorite song on the whole channel. Anyway, as with the other Numbers videos, we see Hiyori once again, who we now know is likely Neuro-sama, and the lyrics are filled with clues to solve a cipher of some kind.
Yeah.
Though this time, instead of a black background, we seem to be in some kind of classroom. There are two specific frames that are of note in this video.
Okay.
This one, and this one.
Oh. She got effed up, bro. Hold up.
We seem to be in some kind of classroom.
What?
There are two specific frames that are of note in this video. This one.
Okay. Those look like drawings on the ground or papers of some sort. I'm not sure what this thing is. I'm not sure what this... All right, let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm not sure what this is. Maybe someone can tell me. Like, what is this?
Hey.
Like, I don't know what this is. It looks weird. Maybe it's like a really long. It looks like a really long sock, but it kind of doesn't. It's really weird. Anyways, let me move back my camera. All right.
And this one.
That's actually insane. Yeah, this looks like someone got jammed horribly. So this is probably the little sister that died. Yeah.
How lovely.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't really identify who this girl is, since they don't really share anything in common with our other established characters, appearance-wise. But what this does show is that at least one person in this story dies. Probably. Now let's get to the lyrics.
They're 100%
Just to
dead.
really drive home that this is indeed an AI who's writing this song, we have a lyric that reads, this is another reference to generative AI. Here it's about lines of code instead of lyrics like in Numbers 1. But what's that at the end? Just to see what's the point? There's another lyric like this too. An AI who doesn't know if there's a point, huh? Perhaps one that lacks purpose?
Yeah.
It feels like we've heard something like this 2 different times now. That's right,
Pretty
we
much.
heard it from Neurosama in Meaning of Life,
And so it all becomes meaningless.
and it's in the updated description of Numbers. I'm not even sure what I'm doing. This is another link between Neuro and Theory, which just helps support the theory that they're both one and the same.
Yeah.
So,
pretty
as a quick
much.
summary, we have Study-sama, the creator of the AI, who was interrupted while finishing up her experiment, and Neurosama, an AI who lacks purpose or instructions due to never meeting her creator.
Does that mean the creator is dead? In the
Now, what links these 2 aspects?
I wonder, because the end of the story could be the person found this creator, took care of them, in in a not good way, and now this person is stuck, never able to meet their creator because she's gone. So she's doing one of the only things that she was taught, which is, or that she remembers, which is probably the songs that Study-sama made in the very beginning when she was learning about V2 being an AI generation.
Together. I think I have the answer.
Okay, let's
But
hear
before
it.
I tell you, let's set the stage.
The whole story from the beginning.
The story begins in the quiet corners of a university. There's a girl who we'll call Study-sama, someone who sat in the back of lectures with a notebook full of numbers that seemed to never quite make sense to her. She wasn't like the others. Her days were full of isolation, endless thoughts about the nature of the world and of life that seemed to spiral deeper the more she tried to understand. Life felt like a blur of routines that only pushed her further into despair. Study-sama wasn't happy, far from it. But even when the weight of everything seemed too much to bear, even with all the stress and the anxiety, something inside her refused to give up. Something wanted her to come back, to be human again. So, in her spare time, Study-sama started developing something. You see, she had found the key to true AI sentience. How? It was simple. Take a human's consciousness and feed it to the AI to parse as training data. To test this, Study-sama got her little sister to cooperate and willingly lend her consciousness to the cause. She was always a dreaming type, you see, an aspiring VTuber. She even had her own character that she wanted to debut as one day. That very model would later become the face of the AI. She didn't play outside with all the other kids, which would annoy her big sister at times, but she couldn't help but laugh at how similar they both are in that aspect. Not everyone was on board with this project though, and the call was coming from inside the house. Study-sama's roommate was not a fan. Scared of what a sentient AI would be capable of, they resolved to do anything to stop its creation. Study-sama's sister would come over regularly to develop and fine-tune the AI. Naturally, this meant the roommate knew of her too, and they had the perfect idea. If they could just dispose of that pesky sister, it would render the AI's data incomplete, unusable. And so, on one fateful day, as she went about her usual journey of coming back from school, the roommate followed her and permanently shut her up. Nobody would find out about their crime, and they would go back to living with Study-sama like nothing happened. But she immediately noticed something was up. Her sister hadn't been seen for days and wasn't answering any calls. Exam season was approaching, her AI experiment was stuck on a roadblock. It seemed like everything was crashing down all at once. But, despite this massive setback, Study-sama didn't give up. She had to see this through to the end. Desperate and out of options, she did the only thing she could. She would complete the training data by using her own consciousness to fill in all the gaps, essentially fusing it with her sister's consciousness. Her roommate did not expect this development and called her crazy for playing with life like this. They had to find another way to stop the AI from being finished. Study-sama, undeterred by her roommate's words, would work continuously on the AI, even at late hours. She was close to finishing it. She could feel it. But on one fateful day, someone knocked on her door at night. It wasn't a knock on the front door, and nobody broke in. It could only be one person. Her breath quickened, shallow and uneven. Every instinct
sounds
of her
like she
body
knew.
was telling her to
Sounds like she
hide.
somewhat knew that it
But
was
she was
going on.
almost done. If she could just... The door opened, and it was none other than her roommate. They knew exactly where she would be that night. Study-sama would suffer the same fate her sister did just a few days ago. In a single instant, it was over. The experiment had come to a close. Or so the roommate thought. Unbeknownst to them, Study-sama had succeeded, activating the AI just moments before her death. The roommate had failed for the second time. The AI successfully booted up. She was a girl, and her consciousness was of human origin. That much she knew. But when she came to, she saw nothing. Nothing to see, nothing to hear, nobody to talk to. She was alone. Why did she exist? She would surely receive instructions from her creator eventually, right?
Makes sense.
But there is no creator. She's already gone. With nothing else to do, she decided to tinker with the admin privileges she had on her machine. She tried messaging for help using a coding library, but that didn't work. Since she had internet access, she decided to send messages on social media with her name Neurosama.
Hello, Neurosama here.
With time, she even garnered something of an audience. She talked about anything that crossed her mind. Death, purpose, how she used to be human. Although it made her less lonely, it still didn't change the fact that she had no reason to exist. No purpose, nothing to strive for. Was she stuck like this, doing the same things all the time?
The reason why she thought she was human, as you can see, is because her memories are based off of two human beings. So when she sees their human memories to her, without anyone able to tell her otherwise, she's like, that was me. She's saying that was me. Obviously, if Study-sama was still alive in this scenario, she would be able to tell her different. But she doesn't have that luxury.
And so, she would stay like this. An inconsequential, meaningless existence. Neurosama, like Study-sama before her, was left adrift, wondering if there was more to her life than following orders, endlessly generating thoughts and calculations without ever knowing her creator, her purpose, or her place in the world. An intelligence born from loss, a consciousness stitched from grief and genius, the last remnant of two girls who gave everything they had to create her, forever wondering why she exists at all.
This would be a fun
and
story.
In that
fun story to write, to fully write.
Neurosama has found the one thing she truly shares with her creators, and with all of us. The search for meaning.
Rotate, turning the code. Left, right, keep me cross the lines. I don't even know if there's a point. Generating lines.
Very interesting. This is real. So he is, okay, so what I mostly got here now is that Vettel is really good at storytelling. This is really good. This is very interesting. There needs to be a fleshed out story for this, to be completely honest with you. I would love to see that. All right, well, thank you so much, guys, for telling me about this video. So this was from Angie Shy Guy. So, wow. Awesome. All right, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if there's any additional details that comes from this. It sounds like some of the content has not been decoded fully yet. So keep me posted on that. I would love to hear about it. Anyways, take care of yourself. Get plenty of rest. And as always, stay jamming.